Y'all, y'all, today it's time for an extra special ride. I literally just got out of court. Words I didn't think I would be saying again in my life, but I literally just got out of court. Today was such a busy day in court for the Britney Spears conservatorship. Some of you are like, isn't Britney out of her conservatorship? Yes, the conservatorship is over. It's not controlling her life, but it's not done. Why? Because everyone's still fighting over the money. There were a number of motions in court today. I've got a very full notepad of conversation that we need to have. It was so much. I got to ask questions to both of the attorneys after the hearing. I just cannot. So I am traveling and we are live. So we're going to talk about the motions that were on calendar today, what the court had to say, how the attorneys were feisty with each other. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my morning. Any of you in the chat see me on ePop Live today? Yeah, we've been up since 5 a.m. Pacific. So it's been a busy day. I cannot wait to break it down. We have so much to talk about. And ooh, we have so much to talk about. So thank you for joining me for this like road show of, Lawyer Reacts Live, because that's what we're doing. I'm just coming to you from my hotel. That's what it is. Emily, have you eaten yet? No, we don't eat food. For all of you commenting the lighting, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I am using my MacBook Pro. I don't know what Apple has programmed in there. I do not look like this. This has blurred something. It is not me. It is the eyesight camera. The eyesight camera is like, of course we'd want, like, you can't see all of my facial features. It has some type of a soft focus something. I'm not mad at it, but just know that this is not real life. If you want to see what I actually look like, go on Instagram. You can still see that I'm kind of sweaty because it was hot and I was running around. So let's get into what happened in court, who was there, who wasn't, what was said, who was clapping at who, because there was some clapping in court today, who I got to meet, who I got to kiki with, all. We're going to talk about it all. So we should get going. Yeah, we should just get going. We're going to roll the intro. Thank you for being here. If it's your first time in the live stream, go ahead and just pop a 1 in the chat. I'm so glad you're here. Oh my God, it's time. We just need to talk about everything.
Hey there. Welcome to The Emily Show. I'm your host, Emily D. Baker, badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator, breaking down the legal shit in the news and pop culture stories you want to talk about. I've been a licensed attorney for over 15 years. I'm a former prosecutor, and I'm a big fan of the cursey words. So let's break it down.
So much was going on today. As I said, so much was going on today. So if I'm a little disjointed, it's just because I'm tired. So that's just the way that that's going to be. But this hearing had things that were put over from the last hearing that was in June. It was a pretty important hearing because what we had today was whether or not, like the big item on the agenda today was, does James Spears get to depose Britney Spears? And what that means is that his attorney Weingarten would get to, and possibly James Spears as well, he's the party, he can be at a deposition, would get to ask Britney questions under oath, would get to put her under oath, put her in a conference room and be like, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Britney's attorney, Rosengart, has been arguing that this is abusive, that there's nothing she can say. She's been in a conservatorship. Like, she doesn't have firsthand knowledge of these things. He does, not her. So there's nothing that you can really question her about in a deposition. And that was the main thing on calendar today. I'm going to back up just a little bit about what this is all regarding, because some of you are like, but why are we still talking at all, period? Let me know if that's you. Why are we still talking about this? What is happening? Here's the thing. Britney Spears is out of the conservatorship. They don't have control over her life. Matthew Rosengart makes it clear after every hearing, Britney is the one making her own decisions, honey. It is up to her. Love. Britney's making her own life choices, living her best. But there is a 12th accounting that has not been done yet. The 12th accounting is from the 12th year of the conservatorship. It's not done. The 12th accounting is the big money one. And the big money is Britney as the conservatee, technically Britney's estate. Is Britney's estate responsible for paying James Spears' lawyers? How much is James Spears asking for his lawyers? I mean, over $1 million, well over $1 million. 500,000 of that is for the infamous media matters. Media matters. So there is the 12th accounting that has a bunch of objections to it because somebody woke up. I had a professor in law school who was like, if you ever fall asleep in court, wake up, bang the table and say, I object. I would actually demonstrate here, but with my travel mic, that's glorious, by the way, I'm worried it'll be really fucking loud. I don't want to do that to y'all. Objection! But Sam Ingham, Britney's court-appointed counsel before Rosengart came in, was like, we should object to things. Yes, you should object to things. What in the world is $500,000 for media matters? What is that even? So that's where we started with these objections to the 12th accounting. Media matters, money spent for Lou Taylor, the former business manager from TriStar, to hire attorneys. Stay with me. Lou Taylor, the business manager, had the conservatorship pay for her attorneys to send cease and desists to members of the Free Britney movement. That's what the attorney said in court. I mean, how do you know who it is? But whatever. Somebody started a number of websites, louMtaylor.com and other things, critical of Lou Taylor. So Britney Spears' conservatorship estate paid for her business manager to get a lawyer to issue a cease and desist for people who were being mean to her on the internet. The attorneys from TriStar were there today, and they were like, yeah, but the only reason people are coming for Lou Taylor is because of the conservatorship. So it's appropriate that like Britney Spears pays for Lou's lawyer. Like, it's because of the conservatorship that people are critical of her. Okay. That's your argument. So that's part of what's going on with the objections to the 12th accounting. They are still fighting over this money. Your Honor, make Britney pay for all the shit. And Britney's attorney is like, we're fucking done with this. So the 12th accounting is what is the kind of overriding issue. There are other fee petitions because the 12th accounting was so long ago now, because the conservatorship went 13 years. The 12th accounting is so long ago now that there are other fee petitions to ask for more money for attorneys. And then there is a 13th accounting that still needs to be done. So how many years out are we from being done? I don't know. Today during the hearing, Judge Penny was asking Weingarten, Yeatid's attorney, when are you going to start moving on filing the 13th accountant or the 13th accounting? And Weingarten, I don't know if it's him or if it's James Spears or if they're synonymous with one another, if they're just like interchangeable. But he's like, well, we're not going to file the 13th accounting until the 12th accounting is done. So we're not going to move on until this is settled. Like the 12th accounting has to finish before we file the 13th. Now, there's probably some accounting to that, but here's my perspective. The 12th accounting's fucking done. They're just objections over it. It shouldn't change the numbers for what happened in year 13. Like whether the judge says those objections are granted or those objections are not granted, whether or not the judge grants the objections and makes people pay their own money or Britney pays the money, the accounting year is closed. So the judge ruling on all these objections for the 12th accounting doesn't really affect the 13th accounting because the 12th accounting is closed for the like accounting purposes, right? It's been done. It's been filed. It's just they're fighting over if it's proper payments or not. But they're like, we're not doing the 13th accounting until the 12th one is done. And it felt to me exactly like the argument with regard to this deposition. Well, James Spears isn't going to be deposed until Britney Spears is deposed. Bro, that's not how any of this works. It's not this tit for tat back and forth bullshit. This is a conservatorship. You don't have control anymore. Get the 13th accounting done. This is going to drag on, and it feels abusive to me to drag this out more, because Britney is still paying for the lawyers to deal with the 13th accounting, because that was a proper function of the conservatorship estate to pay for. So until the 13th accounting is done, she is still in this. And it just feels like James Spears is like, well, I just want this to be done too. And then he's never letting go of control. Like, never, ever. Like, I feel like every time Britney wins in court, she gets rickrolled. And James Spears is back there going, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you go. Like, so much trying to get her to continue to pay. So the 12th accounting's not done because of the objections, but it's finished. Like, the number part's finished. And they won't do the 13th accounting until the 12th one's done. And the court was pressing them on it. So then and then we're going to go in order of everything that happened. Then, me, jump in the middle. Yep. Jump in the line. I'm so tired. Move your body in time. Uh-oh. It was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. So then Weingarten is being asked, but when can we expect it? By the court. The court is like, but when? And he's like, well, not until the 12th accounting's done. And she's like, but what? How long? And he's like, well, there's going to be a trial regarding the 12th accounting that's going to the long cause court. So a multi-week, if not multi-month trial regarding the 12th accounting. And he's like, and we don't have a trial date yet. Los Angeles fucking Superior Court is setting trial dates in 2024 and 2025. They're going to do an evidentiary trial on the objections for the 12th accounting. What? I know, you guys, I can't change the lights red. I have no control. So this could be years that we are talking about before this gets done. So he would not give an answer to when they're going to file the 13th accounting, because it's, when are you filing the 13th accounting? When the 12th is done. It felt like watching my kids being like, give that back. Stop touching me. Give that back. Stop touching me. But with the court and Weingarten. Back and forth. It was, and the judge is just like, but when? Not until that's done. So there was a lot going on here, but the court came in, laid down the rules for the audience. I got to meet in person. I got to meet the amazing Liz Day from the New York Times, who did the whole expose. She's like the star of the show in court. They talk about her so much. I mean, they don't. They talk about the New York Times article and the New York Times blowing the lid off of these illegal recordings by getting the whistleblower. It came up a lot in court, and it's so funny in court. They're talking about it. And I'm sitting there. She's right there. And I'm like, not only is she, well, her piece, her work is in all these filings, but they're just talking about it in court. I'm like, she's sitting right there. It's just kind of surreal, but I totally fangirled. She's amazing and did the investigative reporting work. And then BJ, surprise witness, was there too. We got to see each other in person, and I was just like, and then I met a lot of amazing law nerds. So thank you to everyone I got to talk to today. I didn't get to take pictures with my phone because I was working. So I hope that everybody who shares them tags me so I can see them. I really want to see the pictures that we all took today. It was great. So today was very busy. The judge comes in, the media goes in first, the public tickets go in next. I'm applying for a media pass immediately. Like, I can't with this, but I'm applying. We'll just figure it out. But the media goes in, the public goes in, which is great. We're allowed. Fine. So we get to sit there and take all of our notes. We took so many notes. Everybody was just like, question, did I get any autographs? No. I got to chat, and that was great. I got to chat. Do you see all my stickers? We've got this is just the water bottle I was traveling with because my kid took my other one. And I don't have a cup, Anyway, yes, that's exactly right, Stalking Lion. The randos were allowed in the back of the courtroom, but it was really fun. It was really surreal being back at the courthouse where I used to work. It's been a while because when I moved from civil to criminal, I wasn't in that courthouse very much. So it smelled the same. It was very interesting to be back at Stanley Mosque. It was really nice. So the court laid out, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through these in order, and I'm going to give you my tentative ruling and then let you argue. And I don't want you getting off topic. And then they did, but it was delicious. So I'm here for the lawyers arguing with each other. It was actually really nice to see it in their own voice, to hear it in their own voice, to kind of see how the judge reacted, because her computer screens cover a lot of her face. So it was hard. I see you guys asking in the chat. Kissy said, did she say she got to talk to Rosendaddy? I did briefly, very, very briefly. And then I asked him a question during the press corps, which I shared on Twitter. I have not yet had a chance to go share it on Instagram, but I will. Did I run into anyone I knew from the time that I worked there? Yes, I did. And that was nice too. So, okay. Let's see. You guys are like, Nightbot is getting a workout. Yeah, because the fuckery is real, and I'm sure everybody feels the same, and they want to exclaim in all caps, but Nightbot is like. So let us go on into the in court. So the attorneys that were in court, let's see. Let's get to where, oh, my page is stuck together. Let's get to most of my roll call. Let's see. Counsel were sworn in. The court made all the announcements about all of the things that, phones off, this, that, everything. And then in court, we had Rosengart and Lisa McCurdy from his firm for Britney. Then we had Weingarten and, I wrote these out of order, but we had Weingarten and 3 other attorneys sitting on his end. And I'm sure I'll get to their names in a second, but Weingarten and 3 others. 2 of them were for TriStar. One was for Robin Greenhill, the employee of TriStar. So that was the attorneys on that side. Then on Court Connect was a number of other attorneys, including Vivian Thuren. And Vivian Thuren is there representing Holland and Knight because they are still pending their own fee petition. So Holland and Knight still hasn't gotten paid all of theirs. So Thuren used to represent Yeated and represent the conservator, doesn't anymore. So Thuren was there representing Holland and Knight. Gerald Cohen, who's also got a fee petition pending for their firm, was representing Freeman and Freeman. The attorney for the former temporary conservator of the estate was on the line. James Spears was in the car. And it was so strange because the court was doing kind of roll call, or the clerk was doing roll call. During the roll call, I think it was the clerk, they asked for James Spears, and he comes on the line and he's like, yeah, James Spears, I'm driving. And you could hear that he was driving. I'm like, you can't be on court call. Bro, where are you going? Anyway, was in the car at the beginning of the call. It was a 3-hour court hearing. I don't know where he was at the end, but he was on the line as well. And then all the counsel got sworn in. The court gave them the rundown. The other attorneys were Scott Eldman, who we've seen on the filings, and then another attorney that works with him for TriStar, or their clients TriStar. That's not who they work. You know what I mean? It's not their firm. So the court's like, we have 3 hours. We have probate notes to clear, and was like, could you all please get to the probate notes? I will go over the probate notes in another hearing. I will pull them up and we'll go through what the court wants to clear, because the court's like, you need to get this done. So there is still work for them to do within that. The court really wanted to focus its attention back to the fee petition, the 13th, the 12th accounting, and really start moving on those items, like move those items on. So the court reminded everyone that needed to get done, and that they had notes they needed to confirm and clear. Then they got into, let's see. The court's timeline with regard to the 13th accounting, and the court's like, well, we'll find a date, and he's just like, sure. Then the court said, with the motions, please keep in mind the time. The court really wanted to get through it. The narrator, they did not get through it. The court, I really want to get through it all. They did not get through it all. No, they sure did not get through it all. The first one was the motion to compel request for admissions for Britney Spears. This is a motion for discovery. And again, in other content, I will pull up all the motions and we can kind of quickly go through them. I've gone through all these motions before on the channel. This was a request for admissions. Admissions are written discovery, and you send a bunch of things like admit this, admit that, all of the things. And so they're a type of, interrogatory, but they're requests for admissions. So the court gave their tentative that the requests for admissions, for the most part, were overbroad, and that the allegations, or that the discovery is all relevant, that the discovery relates to the allegations Britney has made in her court filings about yeeted Spears. Here's the thing. That's not the matter that's pending. The allegations of misconduct, conservatorship abuse, money, all of that stuff, bugging Britney Spears' bedrooms, those kinds of things keep coming up, but they're not the heart of this. The heart of this is the objections to the accountings and the money. So that's part of it. So the court, let's see. And as I said, this is a literally like live from court. We're going to talk about all of it. When the court broke it all down, the court's like, these are your arguments. These are her arguments. This is what you're asking for. And when Lisa for Britney's side got up and started talking, she was like, look, I understand most of the rulings. Most of the rulings were in Britney's favor. Like, these are overbroad. We don't know what you mean. Like, you're not going to get, I'm not compelling, like literally the judge forcing Britney to answer these things under oath, written under oath. I'm not forcing Britney to answer most of these. And then it came up to two of them with regarding to where she was born, which is a form request for, no, that was on the interrogatories. I've gotten ahead of myself. I apologize. This was literally before, this was before that. And the court granted only a very, very limited amount of requests for admissions that were narrowly tailored to the objections. And the court did grant that and said, yes, you need to answer these three questions, 17, 27, 28. You need to answer them in 30 days, signed under oath. So that was the request for admissions, not an argument. They seemed to know that that was what's going to happen. It was like, that's what's going to happen. So I got ahead of myself a little bit. The next motion was the motion to compel the further interrogatories. Interrogatories, similar to admissions. Admissions are more like admit or deny this. Admit, like on this date you spent this money at the, like admit this, deny this. Interrogatories are broader, more open-ended questions. So there are two types of written discovery where the answers get written and then you sign it under oath and it goes to the other side. It's just a part of written discovery. So when we got to the motion to compel further, note, I should have brought a highlighter, totally didn't. When you got to that, the court gave their tentative that they were not going to allow the interrogatories to most of it, and they were going to have the court was going to compel Britney Spears to answer two of them. So two of the requests for admissions. You have to answer two. And the parties argued this tooth and nail. Like argued this tooth and nail. What are the two things that they were fighting over? Where Britney Spears was born and her current home address. Current home address. Y'all. First of all, when Britney's attorney, Lisa McCurdy, got up to argue, she's like, this doesn't even make any sense. My words, not hers. It was very close. Because her father is asking for her to, under oath, state where she was born. Like, he knows where she was born. These are like basic form interrogatories. These should have been taken out. After they argued back and forth about the ridiculousness of where she was born, Weingarten's like, fine, we'll withdraw number 15.1. This goes in cases where the parties don't know each other. This is not appropriate in this case. Just because it's a form interrogatory doesn't mean you need it. He knows it. And it's completely irrelevant. Then they were fighting over quite a long time, fighting over Britney's address and Britney's current address. And the court did not like the way that this was going at all. The court was like, she's a party. The first thing the court said that it signaled to me that the court was like, I'm not feeling this. And I'm sure that Britney's attorneys picked up on it too, but the court was like, but she's represented by counsel. Like, you're not trying to track her down. There's no worry that she's not going to get propounded discovery. There's no worry that she's not going to show up if she's supposed to show up, which she doesn't even really need to show up. She's represented by attorneys. Why do you need this? So the court initially was going to let them have that one, and then through argument changed their mind. What was very interesting is when the court ruled that they were going to allow the place of residence to be in the written discovery, Britney's attorneys were like, again, why is this relevant? And the court was like, oh, yeah, actually, you're kind of right. And that's when it started to change. So then Weingarten gets up and starts arguing that they're entitled to discovery. He doesn't say why it's relevant ever, not once ever. That it is proper discovery. It's part of the Judicial Council form interrogatories. Like, these interrogatories are standard. And then Rosengart gets up and starts arguing, yeah, but context matters. And let me break down the context for you. So with his argument about context, I'm going to flip notes real quick because I wanted to get to context. Right before we got to Rosengart, because I missed a note, Weingarten's like, we'll give you a protective order. We'll give you a protective order. We'll give you a protective order. We'll give you a protective order for whatever you want. We'll make sure our firm doesn't have any issues. There aren't any leaks. Because Britney's attorneys are like, why do you need this written down? And they're like, we'll do a protective order. It's fine. It's not a problem. The problem is that she hasn't done verification on her signed responses. She hasn't verified her signed responses. And then Weingarten, I should flip through my notes instead of getting ahead of myself. And then keep reading, Emily. And then Weingarten starts arguing that Rosengart had done something improper, or Britney's attorneys had done something improper because they had signed verifications for her. Again, this is really technically legal, but they had signed shit for her when she was available to sign it. And they're like, you can't do that. What are you doing? You can't sign these for her. They're not verified. We need to know her current residence. So this is the fight back and forth. Britney's attorney, Lisa, keeps saying, it's not relevant. You still haven't told us what you're relevant. You're still mad. And he's like, we'll give a protective order. Like, her information won't get out there, which you can't guarantee. So Rosengart gets up because Weingarten won't start arguing. The fact that they're still arguing over the fact that she needs a form interrogatory signed with her home address is ridiculous. But this went on forever because Weingarten dug in his heels and was like, no, we're entitled to this. We're entitled to discovery. So then Rosengart takes over and is like, Your Honor, context matters. This is not every other case. It doesn't apply in this case. And we've had issues, she's had issues with stalking. And he's like, I can't talk about all of it because it sounded to me when he started arguing that there was more going on with stalking. But he starts talking about Jason Alexander and saying that Jason Alexander got into her house, got arrested, and is still in custody. Like, got arrested in June and is still in custody. So he's like, security is a problem. She's represented by counsel. She has been stalked, has an active stalker. One of them is in custody. And Weingarten wouldn't, even at that point, would not let it go. There was conversation about whether things would get leaked. Rosengart was like, well, we don't want things getting leaked. And Weingarten's like, I'll assure you that nothing will get leaked. Okay. Great. They don't have a signed protective order in place. But I think personal privacy and security is fair. Then Rosengart goes down the line of arguing that this is just being abusive. And that this is abusive conduct and it's not necessary. And Weingarten's like, we have the right to discovery. You're not providing a verification. And the court's like, look, stop. What if I just give you a date for them to provide verification? Like, that'll be fine. I'll give you a date to provide verification. They'll provide verification. None of this freaking matters. Like, literally none of this matters. So Rosengart talks about the stalker. Weingarten gets back up and is like, look, Your Honor, I don't know what the big deal is. Her home is basically public record at this point, to the point that someone did get into her home on her wedding day and get arrested. And he starts arguing about her wedding, and my eyes were like this. I was like, we're going there? She just had a very public wedding. The press was there. The media was there. There was video. There was this. There was that. So he starts arguing that because she had her wedding at her home and photos of it were in magazines, that then she has to turn over her current residence today to her father. I suspect that Britney either has moved or is in the process of moving. And this is why they want it so much. I also imagine that Britney wouldn't have had so many people to her home if she wasn't planning on moving. So they're just. And I see the chat, not Jason Alexander, the actor from Seinfeld. Jason Alexander, her friend from high school who she married for like 3 days in Vegas, and then did a fucking Instagram live from inside her house on her wedding day. So yeah, the chat's like, Britney's moving. She has moved. She posted about it. She moved. And I think that's why they want her current residence now, because I don't think her dad knows where she's moved. So you guys are like, yes, she's moving. She absolutely deserves privacy. You guys are like, she moved like the day after her wedding, which makes total sense. If you're going to have a public wedding at your house, you're doing it because you know that's not where you're going to live anymore. So who cares if your address gets out there more? So Rosengart gets totally pissed and is like, look, the fact that he's making light of this is part of the problem. The fact that he doesn't think that this is a problem is a problem. So he says that, so Rosengart kind of ends with, this is continued harassment, and the court wraps it up with, let's see, I'm going the wrong way in my notebook. The court wraps it up with, I'm not making you turn them over. They will verify the things you want verified, and gave a timeline to verify it. And that's just it. We're done. Like, we're just done. We're not forcing Britney to turn it over. So the court kind of overruled their tentative, and Rosengart and Lisa won that argument on argument. So the tentative was against them, and then they won it. Let's see. Let's move on. I want to move on to the next. I want to make sure we move on to the next one. So the entire motion with regard to the propounding written discovery, the motion to compel further responses to the form interrogatories, was completely denied at the end of the day. So then, let's see, what is the next one that they get into? Weingarten kept arguing after the court's ruling. So this is now Weingarten arguing after the court's ruling. And then they get into the motion to depose Britney Spears. So that was the next big one. The motion, some of these pages stuck together, that's why. It's a new notebook. So the big one was then the motion to compel the motion to compel the deposition of Britney Spears. The court said, we put this over. So this came before the court in June. The court put it over till today. The court asked for further briefing. I haven't even gone over those yet, but there was further briefing that was late, and the court's like, I loved this, that the judge was like, I only considered the one that came in before July 22nd. Everything that was late, I didn't consider. None at all. So the court only considered one additional brief. The last court date, the court's tentative was leaning against deposing Britney Spears. But the court wouldn't just rule and wanted to hear more from the attorneys, which is not good for Britney. If you're Britney's team and the court's going on your side and then it's like, oh yeah, no, I'll put it over. And when I put it over, I will get more information from you. It means the court's reconsidering what they thought. And that's always bad. You don't want the court reconsidering when they're on your side. So then the court gave very thorough tentatives. This is the law. This side's arguing this. This side's arguing that. This is what I'm finding. This is why I'm finding it. This is clearly what the law says. So the court went through the law here with regard to the discovery rules in California, cited out the codes of civil procedure, and said that with regard to that, the court has the opportunity to decide if deposing Britney Spears is appropriate. The court has the ability to deny a deposition if it's appropriate, or if discovery can be gotten in other ways. So with this, the court said that she believed that it was unlikely to produce any discoverable information that's not also discoverable through written discovery. This was a very technical hearing with regard to discovery. So the court basically said, you don't need to sit down across a table from Britney Spears and pepper her with questions. Send the interrogatories. She can sit down and answer them, sign them under penalty of perjury, and that is all you need. That is it. Weingarten was not happy about this at all. Like, not happy about this at all. It was a huge win for Britney that she doesn't have to be deposed. James Spears has to be deposed before like August 15th. That's coming. The reporters kept asking him about it, asking Rosengart about it after the hearing today. Like, when is James Spears' deposition? And he's like, I'm not telling you. Like, I'm not answering that. But it will be before August, I think 12th or 15th is the date. So that's coming. James Spears has to sit and answer for what he's done. But the point that Rosengart kept making that I agree with is, but what can Britney tell you that you don't already know? You were the conservator. You know the things. And at the end, when Rosengart just popped the fuck off, one of the things he was saying was, you don't have to agree with her feelings, but these are her feelings. You don't get to just depose her because you don't agree with her perception of whether or not you abused her, essentially. But we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't like this chair. And we got to wiggle. I'm sorry. Hotel room chairs aren't always my favorite. So as soon as the court said it's unlikely to produce anything you can't get in written discovery, I'm like, oh, she's denying this. Great. This is going to be spectacular. So the court's alternative was to deny a deposition of Britney Spears and then allowed Weingarten to argue. So Clouds in my coffee. I didn't bury the lead. I started with it at the very top of the stream that she won that. So, Peachy Smile said, didn't Edith state I am Britney Spears, so how on earth would he need her to be deposed? I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I agree with you. And that was along the lines of what Rosengart argued for sure. So let's keep this going. So Weingarten gets up to start arguing and said that the most interesting thing that the court said in her tentative was that she wants to make sure that the discovery is narrowly tailored to the issues. And the issues are the pending petitions. I think this was to rein in both sides. I don't think this was directed just at Weingarten or just at Rosengart. I feel like it was directed at both of them. Like literally a stop it, all of you. Because the court went into Weingarten. Weingarten clearly thought he won something, like he felt like he did something there. But the court ruled in the previous ruling that a whole bunch of his discovery was overbroad. What I could tell from the court's tone and words is that the court is sick of everyone trying to fuck around and find out with discovery. Tired of it. Stop propounding overbroad discovery. Stick to the point. The point right now is these fee petitions and objections and the 12th accounting. And if it doesn't do with that, stop fighting with each other. And with this, Weingarten was like, and started getting clarification from the judge. Your Honor, can we get clarification? So both sides, you want to make, both sides can't do overbroad this and this and that. Here's where Weingarten wasn't understanding what it means. Britney has a lot more grounds because they're the ones objecting to the fee petition. Why are you doing that? What's that? Why are you spending money on that? How is that related? Britney has a lot more questions to ask Yeated than Yeated gets to ask Britney. So even though the court's like, tailor this down, the court's trying to rein it in, but can't, because Britney has room to ask questions that Weingarten doesn't. So you want to narrowly tailor, Your Honor, you want to narrowly tailor. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the court's ruling. You want to narrowly tailor all the discovery. He was trying to make the court's ruling seem more pointed than it actually was. So Weingarten said this is key for clarifying, or key for clarification. The vast majority of the discovery propounded by Britney Spears is very broad beyond the pending petitions. We have no evidence, no declaration from Britney. We haven't heard from her. All we know is that Britney has information about this case because she's been posting about it on social media. What? We know Britney has information on this case because she put up on Instagram and then deleted that she had text messages. What? Is this because there was something going on between Britney and her mother? But what does that have to do with James Spears? Your Honor, Britney says stuff on Instagram. Do we win now? Now do we win? How about now? How about now? So he said, we also put before the court that Britney has information without testimony from her. The court cannot reach this decision because you don't know that she doesn't know anything. So you cannot reach this decision. James Spears is entitled to put on his case. He said entitled a lot. James Spears is entitled to put on his case. I have a right to conduct discovery. I believe that Britney Spears' testimony is relevant. I can call her and get info from her regarding discovery. I moved to compel and it was denied last week. I can't repropound that the documentary discovery that we covered last week that got denied. I'm entitled to discovery, and then earlier today, you denied my motion to compel further. So he's like, I'm entitled to discovery, and you keep telling me I can't have what I'm looking for. So he was getting frustrated, and you could hear it. And he said, there can't be a ruling that I can't depose and can't get documents. You denied my motion. You denied my other motion. You denied my motion to compel further, and you're denying the motion for discovery. You can't, Your Honor, you can't do that. I'm entitled to depose her. He said it like 4 times. And then he got into the fact that Rosengart has done nothing but levy ad hominem attacks at my client. He said that Britney Spears is not a party. She's a party. She has info. What else? If she isn't a party, then why does she get to depose my client? Steffi said, confused which attorney is which. Do you like roses? Roses are for Britney. Rosengart's Britney. Weingarten is James Spears. So roses for Britney. If that will help. But that's a good point. Thank you. I meant to clarify more. It's hard. It gets confusing for me when I'm talking about hearing the lawyers in court to talk about them by their client's name, because I will get confused. So then he's saying, if she's not a party, how can she depose my client? Sir, she is not a party to this litigation. Your client is the former yeeted conservator. Your client is seeking millions of dollars in legal fees. Her attorneys are objecting to the fee petition. It does not make them a party to it. They have grounds to object, but that doesn't mean they're a party. In a sense that discovery would be entitled in the way you're trying to make it entitled. Hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I broke that down in an okay way. She is seeking to depose my client, James Spears. She's seeking to depose TriStar. She should be deposed. We're entitled to get those answers. If she doesn't know, then it'll be a short deposition, he said. He was like, if she doesn't know anything, it'll be short. At the end of this, he said, and whatever she says in her deposition, she has to live with, and they can't keep switching positions on things. He then said, they have to corroborate and substantiate the allegations. They've levied allegations, but they've not corroborated the allegations, which James Spears denies. And he said that the court can't rely on the filings and the documents because it's all allegations. Rosengart starts with flattering the court. So pretty. So wise. That's not what he said. So pretty. No, that's not what he said. What he said was, as Your Honor has so wisely ruled twice now, this, and that. So he started with, thank you, Your Honor, this, thank you, Your Honor, that. You ruled this, Your Honor. Rosengart is much more pleasant to watch in court. Will I say it's because he's a former federal prosecutor, which he said once during the hearing today, and prosecutors are fucking baller? I'm biased. I mean, I'm just going to say that criminal attorneys, because I have seen some incredible defense attorneys too, criminal attorneys tend to be in court a whole fucking lot, and their court style gets polished over time. The more you do something, the better you get at it. Weingarten, though, was definitely better than Elaine. I didn't like all of his arguments, but he presented them well to the court. I could follow Weingarten's arguments, though I didn't always agree. There were times when Weingarten was like, well, it was in my briefing, and I felt like he was maybe not on the same page. Like it was a lot to keep up with. It was a lot to keep up with today. He did not have co-counsel today. Rosengart did. He probably should have had co-counsel. I wonder if, this is pure Emily speculation, I wonder if they are getting worried about whether they are going to get paid. Because remember, All of the fee petitions are for Holland and Knight and Freeman Freeman, the former law firms. This new firm came in and is on tenuous ground with whether or not they will actually get paid by Britney Spears' estate. Because the work they're doing now is after he's been suspended as conservator. This might not all get paid. And I'm wondering if that's why they don't have co-counsel. That is just pure speculation of dollars and cents. That's all. So Rosengart talks about the fact that 3 things have happened since the last hearing, that there's been, we provided the authority. The court's been talking about the correct rule of civil procedure. We won't get into the rules of civil procedure today. We won't. Another day, don't worry. It is bar time, so there's lots of lawyers taking the bar right now. They all want to get into the Code of Civil Procedure. I do not. I don't have it on me. That counsel's presentation, he said counsel's presentation, to be generous, that they said there was no authority, is incorrect because there's authority directly on point in the Code of Civil Procedure. He said, but counsel is correct that he started hearkening back to what counsel argued last time. He said, counsel is correct. This has never been done in the history of the Republic, which of course is incorrect, because then all of the Code of Civil Procedure would be unconstitutional. So then they started actually arguing the Constitution a little bit, which was kind of funny. I was like, what happened last time? Because of course, that's none of the stuff that gets reported, because it's so deep down the rabbit hole, that nobody really cares that Weingarten's like, never in the history of the Republic has anyone denied anyone a deposition ever. Which is kind of an Elaine Bredehoff statement, isn't it? Like, she makes those big statements that are like, that's just clearly not true. You just can't do that. And he said, his third point was that while counsel makes light, we stipulated that Britney Spears will not testify at any hearing or trial. At any hearing or trial. I thought that was big news. I haven't shared that on social yet. I thought that was a big headline. I don't know if anyone else is running with that as a headline. They stipulated Britney's not testifying ever. She's not testifying about the fee petitions. She's not testifying about the concern. She's not testifying. She's not doing it. And he said counsel should be glad. He might have said happy. He might have said thrilled. Counsel should be pleased that we stipulated to that, because regardless of what she says on social media, he said, which she's entitled to do, she will not testify. And then he starts going on about the right of confrontation, because James Spears' attorney, we're going to get into the Constitution just a little bit. James Spears' attorney was arguing they have a right to confrontation. The Confrontation Clause of the Constitution guarantees a right to confront your accuser. We could go on and on about the British system of law that we are derived from, where people would give testimony in secret. Oh, wait, we don't even have to go that far back, because we totally saw that in the UK Johnny Depp case, where people are allowed to give testimony against you behind closed doors and you can't see what they say. That's what Amber Heard did in the UK case. Gave testimony behind closed doors where Johnny Depp and his attorneys cannot see or hear what's happening. When those who founded our country came over, they were like, fuckery. If someone's going to sit there and accuse you of something, they need to look you in the face and accuse you of the thing. And so we have a right to confrontation, to see the witnesses against you, but it is a criminal right. It is a criminal right. It is not a civil right. It doesn't apply in civil cases. So Rosengart is just like, bruh, it just doesn't apply here. There's no right to confrontation in this type of proceeding. What are you on about? So let's see. He went on to say that he thinks he has a right to discovery. He's creating a false premise. Counsel has other methods of getting discovery, like do it the right way. And then went on to say what we were all thinking, like literally everyone. James Spears is in the best petition to know about his conduct. No, that's not what he said. Misconduct. James Spears is in the best petition to know about his misconduct. He was like, you don't need to hear from Britney. You know what you did. He also said that she doesn't have firsthand knowledge of whether people were like bugging her room. She wasn't involved. These were things that were done to her in secret that she didn't know about until the New York Times broke it. She didn't know. So, let's see. Then he launched into the Rosengart speech. And I've come to love a Rosengart speech from the transcripts I've read, from the reporting I've seen from others in the courtroom. I love a Rosengart speech, and you could hear it happening. And in my brain, I'm like, oh shit, it's coming. Here it comes. He said, the overriding point of this is that opposing counsel is making light of it and has been attacking it. And it's disappointing to say the least. But he said, as an officer of this court, I have to say, Britney Spears feels traumatized. What she has been through at James Spears' hands for over a decade has traumatized her. And he said, James Spears is free to disbelieve it. But what would a decent human, a decent father, a decent man do for his daughter, his flesh and blood? Why, if he loves his daughter, why would he continue this? Why would he continue trying to depose his daughter? What would a decent father do? He said, before these hearings, we gave him time to withdraw these motions. And he didn't. And he goes, I can't address James Spears directly, but he needs to sit down. And Rosengart went off. James Spears is on the line. He needs to sit down with counsel and talk about doing the right thing. A deposition would re-traumatize her, and all the court needs to do is listen to the vitriol in the briefing and the arguments here in court today. And remember, I gave him an opportunity to resign, and he refused. We were all hoping that he would do the right thing. A decent man, a decent father, and a decent human would not want to put his daughter through this. Rosengart went off. And then he said, and of course, the right thing to do is that the tentative should be applied as the formal ruling. And then Weingarten gets up. Well, actually, somewhere in the middle of Rosengart's soliloquy, Weingarten got up. And Weingarten gets up and says, Your Honor, the theatrics. And at this point, Weingarten had an edge to his voice. Rosengart's voice was wavering. When he was talking about Britney Spears being traumatized, his voice was wavering the way Ben Shoes did during closing argument. Weingarten got up with cut to his voice too. He sounded pissed. And he said, the theatrics and the ad hominem attacks on my client are unfortunate, and they're not for the court. They're for the media. And he like gestures broadly back to everyone sitting in court. And he continued in that vein. Oh, did I just flip myself the wrong way? I flipped myself the wrong way. I should never write on both sides. It's too confusing. The theatrics and the ad hominem attacks are unfortunate. There isn't a single thing before this court that supports anything that counsel is saying. There isn't a single thing that counsel is saying that has anything to do with anything, basically. He said if there was any evidence supporting these allegations, this would be different. But there's no evidence. He said we have a right to discovery, but we can't because the court is now blocking us from getting discovery. And this is all for the media. He said, Mr. Spears has done right by his daughter. You could hear, you could feel the courtroom holding, well, I was sitting back with the randos and all of us were like, he did not just say that. He has done right by his daughter. Breathe, breathe. It gets worse. Breathe, it gets worse. She is where she is today because of Mr. Spears. He said that she would have been subjected to Svengali's and Rasputin's seeking to glom on to her fame if it wasn't for James Spears stepping in and saving her 13 years ago. They've made these arguments in their written motions, but hearing it come out of someone's mouth hits different. Hits different. It hits different. He said, I won't sit here and listen to the character assassinations on my client. He is proud of what he's done for his daughter, not to his daughter. Y'all. And then, breathe, 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 breathe. And then he says, the truth will come out and Mr. Spears will be vindicated. He then, and I was blown away when this came out of the last court hearing, because Rosengart has called it threatening, and it's been reported by Variety and others, that Weingarten keeps alluding to sealed documents becoming unsealed. Yeah, he does. He alluded to it multiple times during this hearing. The sealed documents will vindicate him. And I'm sitting there and I know that I covered the Depp Heard case so much that it's just like fucking in my brain. But I'm sitting there and all I'm hearing is Elaine Bredehoft on TV saying, but the court wouldn't let our evidence in. There's a text message saying, when I told him that he kicked you, he cried. There's doctor's notes. That will vindicate. And Weingarten is standing up there being like, you know, there's these documents under seal, but it'll vindicate. James Spears will be vindicated. We're going to talk about what's in those sealed documents because Rosengart alluded to them in his response to this fuckery. My note at this point was, we're so close to Daddy Loves Her. Like, he was like on the line of, he's proud of what he's done. He has done good work, all of it. And I was like, oops, so close. And then my handwriting got absolutely appalling because I was writing so fucking fast because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. He said in any other case, he says this, what I love, I've just sidebarred myself. What I did love seeing, because Weingarten, I don't agree with his arguments, but he argued well. It was very interesting to hear. Don't agree, argued well. I could follow his argument. It missed the mark for me, but better than some of what I've seen lately, I gotta be honest. So he starts getting into this next part, and what I loved seeing from both Weingarten and Rosengart is that the things that they argue in court, their voice, their use of language, very much aligns with their written documents. So there are words that Rosengart uses frequently. I heard those in his arguments in court today. I was like, it's nice to see there's no disconnect between, oh, this is how you write, and then you get up and argue in court, and it's like, who are you anyway? So Weingarten said, in any other case, it would be inconceivable that I don't get to depose a party. He puts it in all of his motions. Inconceivable is there so often. And he was just like, it would be inconceivable. And in my brain, y'all, it's so fucking hard for me to be in court because I want to be like, inconceivable. Like, I want to do commentary out my mouth while I'm sitting in court and I can't. And it's so frustrating because I want to be narrating what's happening and I can't. I'm sure I'm having some kind of main character syndrome and I want to be like, and then he said inconceivable. Yes, I had total Princess Bride vibes. So then he keeps going with, we think the truth will come to light when things are unsealed. It feels to me threatening. We're going to unseal everything. Here's how it felt to me. This is completely my opinion. You know how I feel about this case. I started out this case. If you go listen to my very first podcast, I was like, you know what? And I got flack for it. I was like, maybe James Spears isn't an emotionally intelligent human. I believe that. But maybe he's just so traumatized by what his daughter went through that he is very afraid to just let go of the control, afraid that she will be harmed. I don't believe that anymore, but I did. I came into it with like a best case scenario. He's trying to protect his child. That ship has sailed. But seeing some of these arguments and trying to hold on to this control and this money feels just abusive to me. It just feels abusive. So while a lot of cases I'm like, this is this and this is this, I have an opinion. I have a side in this conservatorship. I am 100% at what the fucking fuck is happening. This is so beyond abusive. And the unsealing, I had a point. The threats to unseal, here's how it feels to me. We're going to show the world how fucked up you are if you keep arguing with us, if you keep fighting with us, because they can't take away her kids. They can't take away her dogs. They can't take away her car. They can't deny her vacations. They can't deny her dinner. They can't deny her buying a pair of Skechers. They can't control her anymore. They don't have the purse strings anymore after 13 years. They cannot control her. So instead, they're threatening her. That's how it felt to me. The truth will come to light if these documents are unsealed. Rosengart gets up and said, I was reticent about what I said earlier. And I have been reticent about saying what I said earlier. But when I spoke, what I said was a plea for decency. His words. And he then went on to say, in his world, James Spears's, in his world, I guess, a plea for decency feels like an ad hominem attack. And that proves my point. The most shocking thing, and then he reversed himself and added another shocking thing later. He said the most shocking thing is hearing someone stand in court and say, Mr. Spears did nothing wrong. Bagman, after the hearing today, the TMZ reporter was in Rosengart's face with his camera, just all up in his face. And Rosengart absolutely said that this was his inspiration. Senator McCarthy, have you no decency? And TMZ's like, did you just compare James Spears to McCarthy? That he said that was where it was from. Exactly where it was from. So, yes. So he said in his world, I guess, a plea for decency was an ad hominem attack on him. And that response proves my point. I'm sure it will be up on TMZ. Go look for it. I'm sure it will be up on TMZ today because they took a lot of video of him. So, yes. So Rosengart was flustered at this, not flustered, frustrated. He was like, hearing him say that Mr. Spears did nothing wrong is shocking. He's like, there's evidence of misconduct. And he said, because I've been invited to address it, which just hold on. Just, it's been a long day. A long day. Here's the thing. When he said, because I've been invited to address it, what Rosengart is saying to Weingarten is, hey, fuck you. You opened the door. You have opened the door for this. You did this to yourself. You have invited me to address it. So now I am going to address it because counsel invited it, I will address it. You've asked for it. I mean, I guess it's not really a fuck you. It's a, you asked for this. You asked for this, and here comes the smoke. He said, let's just talk about the things that we know James Spears has done wrong. There was a inherent and egregious conflict of interest from the time that the conservatorship started. And then he talked about the TriStar loan. And he talked about the fact that TriStar loaned James Spears a large sum of money. And then the conservatorship started, and then boom, he hires them as her business manager. He then says to the court, let that sink in a minute. Let that sink in a minute. Let that sink in a minute. He also, and then he started talking really fast, so I've missed little bits of it that I'm sure I'll remember later. He said that he argues that he spent the money on Media Manners to repair his credibility and reputation, but that he damaged his own credibility and reputation. He said there has been financial mismanagement, that there was a domestic violence restraining order because of the incident with Britney's kids. And then he talks about the surveillance and said, to sit here and listen to counsel say his client did nothing wrong is too much for me to take. It was a little dramatic, but I kind of lived for it. I gotta be honest. It was a little bit of a moment, but we love it. So then, let's see. Too much to take. Wait, we're going the wrong way. He then said, we now know what Mr. Spears's point is. And this was one of the best on-the-fly arguments, I don't know why I said that so weird, that I've ever seen. I lived for this. Like, again, Rosengart was firing on the responses to Weingarten on another level. I hope he does a trial someday that's televised so y'all can see this man in action, because when we're talking thinking on your feet, you're talking thinking on your feet. So Rosengart says, we now know what the point is for James Spears. He wants his reputation to be vindicated. Yep. Now we know the point. Oopsie, that came out of your mouth. James Spears will be vindicated. And then he goes into, so he's using this court to try to vindicate his reputation. And he said, it's impossible. He ruined his reputation a long time ago by himself, essentially. This court is not here for him to attempt to vindicate himself, which is impossible. So good luck to him with that. Direct quote. It's preposterous and it's wrong that he is trying to use these court proceedings to vindicate his behavior. He said the notion that this woman's father is trying to unseal his daughter's private medical records is beyond the pale. What kind of human, what kind of father does that? Not someone who loves their daughter. He said then, which I didn't even know, Weingarten took documents that were sealed by the court and attached them to a motion that he made to the court, unsealing them without appropriate court order. And so he's like, how can we trust what Weingarten's out here doing when he's preemptively unsealing things to propound them back to the court? Because that's not how that works. He's like, it's procedurally flawed and it's morally abominable. He said abominable and reprehensible multiple times. He said, if he thinks that's a good idea, we have bigger problems. He said it's a trick and it's a gimmick. He went into the unilaterally unsealing and he goes, we have now had to fight to keep them sealed and protected and to remain sealed. Those are documents that didn't go up on the court side. I had no idea this was all going on behind the scenes. He said he's creating a risk of leaking documents and he's now at a new firm. It's procedurally improper. It's morally reprehensible, abhorrent, abominable. He thinks this proceeding is about vindicating his client, which is impossible. And it's a scare tactic. And he then talked about the fact that he thought Weingarten was trying to threaten the court. Like he's trying to scare the court. My note at this point is, wow, everyone's so fiery today. The court said, I don't want us to stray from the motions. The court interrupts. It's like, I don't want us to stray from the motions. Your Honor, the shit's well the fuck out the horse at this point. Out of the horse. And so then the court reiterated the denial of the motion and took a lunch break. My thoughts at that point were that Weingarten argued that James Spears is proud of his working for his daughter, and it was appalling to hear. But it's what we've been hearing in all of these filings. Nothing in here, there's a few things that are new that we didn't know. We didn't know that Weingarten took a sealed document, did not make a motion for it to be unsealed, unsealed it himself and reattached it to a court record. We didn't know that. We didn't know how hard James Spears was fighting to get Britney's current address. We didn't know that. And we didn't know what the court would do. So then, after lunch, I tried to get my handwriting a little bit better because it got real fast there for a while because they were actually arguing. The next motion was to quash the business records for Kroll and Associates. This is the firm and the individual in the firm that's like former Fed that is doing all the investigation into James Spears, that pulled up all the information about the house in Louisiana, pulled up information about where the money might have gone, just pulled up a ton of information. So they're the investigators, consultants working with Britney Spears' legal team to try to figure out WTF is happening. Hold on, we definitely need more water. So that's who that is. And we're going to talk about that a lot. If you follow me on Twitter, at the Emily D. Baker, and if you don't, you probably should. But if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that this came up after court for both attorneys, and we're going to talk about it. So just buckle up. This next bit is kind of technical legal, but for all of you that have ridden with me through Depp v. Heard and watched the trial now, y'all are like on the same page with me when we start talking about experts. There is a lot of argument about this particular motion and who is and is not a designated expert and what's appropriate discovery for a designated expert. I imagine that the non-lawyers in the courtrooms' heads wanted to explode by this point because it was so much information. So this company, Kroll and Associates, are working as consultants with Britney Spears. They filed a declaration in another motion ages ago. It feels like ages ago that I covered. It was full of tea. we're like, damn. That's when I first learned about cruising, boozing, and cooking. Like cooking, cruising, and boozing or some shit with James Spears, the fucking food truck. That's when I learned about that in those motions. So it's relevant. She says the tentative is that James Spears wants it denied on a procedural ground. She said the procedural ground doesn't apply. So the court was methodical. You objected on a procedural ground. I'm denying the procedural ground. You then, we'll get to the substance of the motion now that we've overcome the procedural hurdle. James Spears argues that the matters are relevant, that attorney-client privilege does not apply. Thank you, Cloudy XY. Cruising, cooking, and chaos with James Spears. It was a food truck that was going to be turned into like a reality TV show. But it wasn't really a food truck. It was a tour bus. I just need to know if the tour bus was purchased with Britney Spears' money. I want to know. Because I kind of feel like it was. Like, this is pure speculation. But if you're going to do a food truck, why wouldn't you just buy a food truck? I have seen plenty of food trucks. None of them are in a tour bus. Have I seen tour buses? Yes. Not food trucks, they're tour buses. But if you buy a tour bus, is anyone going to look closely at the accounting? Because maybe Britney Spears needs a fucking tour bus. I mean, she was doing a residency in Vegas on the time. Where the fuck is she touring? But maybe. I feel like a tour bus would slip under the radar. So I just want to know about the tour bus. Because even if I saw somebody in the chat said, I think it was her old tour bus, even if it's her old tour bus, you can't just convert it for other business uses. Either James Spears would have to buy it from Britney would have to give it to him, which she didn't have the legal authority to do. She was in a conservatorship. She didn't have the right to give it to him. He should have bought it for his company. I suspect he just converted it to his own purposes. But why would she have had a tour bus when she's doing a Vegas residency? She didn't need it. And if she didn't need it, it should have been sold, or whatever you do with tour buses. I don't know. Do you sell them? Do you recycle them? What do you do with tour buses? Who gets the next one? It's like, this used to be Blues Travelers tour bus. Like, what happens with tour? Musicians, hit me up. I want to know. How does this work? Do you just buy other people's tour buses? I imagine you would. They seem specific. Anyway, I'm not going to say I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole because I just fucking did. But I just wonder. Why pick a tour bus and not a proper food truck, other than your daughter's a musician and you'll probably get to like not have anyone ask why you're doing it that way. So, procedural grounds, not procedural grounds. They were arguing over attorney-client privilege and work product. Y'all know how attorney-client privilege goes. Do not pass go. You cannot touch it. So the court said that the declaration that was filed by Kroll and Associates was not a waiver of attorney-client privilege. There was no privileged information in there. And that because there's no waiver, you don't get to just go ahead and do discovery. So the court said, essentially, that the motion to propound further discovery on Kroll and Associates was denied. So you're not getting what you're asking for in the motion. It wasn't to propound. Motion to quash business records for Kroll. So the subpoena is like, give us all this shit. When the court quashes the subpoena, it means that you don't get all your shit. So no, just don't pass go. You don't get to inquire at this point. And you don't get the information that you're looking for. So this is again, James Spears asking for asking for more information and being denied by the court. So then, of course, the party that loses, Britney Spears moved to quash the subpoena. The court quashed the subpoena. You don't get your info. Weingarten stood up. He was wearing a mask. His back is to me. But in my brain, I could absolutely see what he was doing. He stood up and he was just like he had full fish face. And he finally said, "I'm only surprised because if any witness provides testimony, how is that not testimony?" So the court had said, this is not a testifying expert. You saw experts in Depp versus Heard. Spiegel was an expert, believe it or not. There were lots of experts. Mr. Schnell was an expert. The guy who talked about hashtag justice for Johnny Depp and hashtag me poo, he was an expert. Experts. But there is a process for expert designations. There is no trial date set yet. There are no expert designations yet. This is a consultant. And so the court said, this is a consultant. You can't propound discovery for work product. And he said, this is a testifying expert because they gave a declaration in court. A declaration is testimony. They're a testifying expert. And he was like, how can this not be a testifying expert when they've given a declaration? And Britney Spears has relied on that declaration. They've relied on that testimony. So how can I not have a subpoena to get more information? I can feel his frustration in this point, and I understand why he's like, wait, how can I not get any more information on this? He's going to have to go about it a different way. But how can I not get more information on this? So he went in. He's like, okay, well, I have a right to discovery. And the discovery rules in California are pretty lenient, like a free and open exchange of discovery. And he said it to the court. There is supposed to be a free and open exchange of discovery. I mean, I'm going to interrupt myself. I think that the frustration for James Spears' side is they've hit none resistance in over 12 years of this conservatorship. None. They got everything they wanted from the court. I think probably well beyond the bounds of credulity. But nobody objected. It was Britney Spears' attorney, Sam Ingham's job to object. He didn't object. Rosengart understands the assignment. He's like, objection's my middle fucking name. Come on. Object, 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 object. And the court's like, yeah, denied. Well, actually, granted. So Weingarten's like, I tried to get discovery from Britney, you won't let me. I tried to depose Britney, you won't let me. I tried to get documents from Britney, you won't let me. And then they're arguing that Britney doesn't have any firsthand knowledge. The person who has firsthand knowledge is Kroll and Associates. And then you told me I can't subpoena them. WTF. He did not say WTF in court. It was the vibe. That was the vibe check. So how would you like me to do this? And he goes, and if I try to schedule a deposition for Kroll and Associates, they're going to object by saying that they're not a designated expert, which they will because they're right. Not yet a designated expert. Lost his mind. What do you want me to do, Your Honor? I try to do this. I try to do that. I try to do this. You keep telling me no. And so then he went in about whether or not Rosengart was just picking and choosing discovery. And that this is not how this is supposed to work because they are just literally picking and choosing discovery. So he said, they're relying on this. I can't get it. Either way, I'm entitled to discovery. And then he said, I'm just dumbstruck. Yup. I could feel that. I could, in how all these rulings went, like I get where he's coming from. But you're going to have to go about it a different way. You're not entitled to this yet. So, I saw Sammy, did he actually lose his cool? He seemed really frustrated. It was very much a Your Honor, I'm trying motion. It was absolutely a Your Honor, I'm trying moment. Okay. So, Your Honor, and this is fair because I can understand where he's arguing that this is inconsistent. He's like, but wait, I tried to get more document discovery from Britney. You said no. I tried to get further propounded written discovery from Britney. You said no. I tried to depose Britney and you said no. And counsel is saying, right, Britney doesn't have this information. And he's like, okay, so I would like to ask her expert consultant. And the court's like, adorable, but no. You're cute, but no. So he actually said, I'm just dumbstruck. If testimony doesn't make someone a testifying expert, what does? I'm entitled to discovery, but I'm not being given it. And my note here is Weingarten's clearly very frustrated with the court. He said, this is a trick, Your Honor. It's not the law. I'm not aware of anything that states once someone's testifying and makes them a testifying expert, or a law that says they're not. He kept saying, we're going to just make new law on this at some point. Okay, I'll get there. Don't get ahead of yourself, Emily. Okay, the light has changed in here, and now, like, the white balance has died. Okay, that's a little bit better. It is what it is. Rosengart says, this has been extensively briefed. Of course, there's no case law because this is completely contrary to the law. This expert is not an expert. This witness, this individual, they're not an expert. They're not a designated expert at this point. They're a consultant, a consulting expert. You're allowed to have consulting experts, but you saw this a lot in conversation with regard to Depp versus Heard. What was the expert declaration? What did you say in your expert declaration? What was your expert designation? All of this. That hasn't happened here yet. It's too early. This is all premature. So they talked about the declaration from a body, the person for Kroll, being just a summary of what they've determined. And he said, counsel can mock it, but we are surprised we haven't received an expert declaration request from them. If you want us to designate an expert, ask us to designate the expert. And he said, which of course we would say she isn't. It wouldn't do any good anyway, boo. Because it's premature and they're not the expert. He said there's nothing in the Abadi declaration that concerns anything privilege. We haven't waived, attorney-client privilege. We haven't waived work product. We haven't waived any of this. And he says Kroll will produce voluminous information, but we're waiting on them to sign a protective order. Fair. We're waiting on them. We will turn over what we can turn over. We're waiting on them to sign a declaration. And he said, we will not turn over or sign a protective order. We will not turn over attorney-client privilege and work product. Fair. He said, so if there's a trick, it's on the part of counsel. Weingarten got up and said, clearly this is a case that will make law. This will be presented for the Court of Appeal, which is what I asked him about later. This will be presented for the Court of Appeal. They testified. How are they not testifying? I think he's wrong. But, He said on the allegations made, they're relying on this testimony from the Kroll declaration. How can they not be a testifying expert? So he said, Your Honor, when can we get a hearing on a motion to strike the Kroll declaration? And the court's like, counsel, to get a date on calendar, there's a process. And he's like, yes, I'll do that. So I think we're going to see a motion to strike the Kroll declaration. He said, the theme that I'm seeing is we will give you the discovery we want to give you. And then he goes on and on about they're cherry picking discovery at this point. He said, that's not the way any of this works. That's not the way any of this works. Look, Weingarten look, we got some Mimi language in there. We said inconceivable. I'm here for it. He then goes in again to the fair and free production of documents. They don't just get to produce what they want. It's an inconceivable and irreconcilable double standard that's depriving my client of due process. We're just supposed to make every decision based on, buckle up. We're going to get to Q&A soon, I promise. But I wanted to get through everything that happened at this hearing. He said, we're just supposed to make every decision based on the allegations that they made. Wait, no, I went the wrong way. Yep, nope, that was it. We're just supposed to be making every decision based on based on the allegations that they made. And then Rosengart was saying, this is premature. The time for this will come, but they're not a designated expert, so this discovery is inappropriate. And the court said no. The motion to quash is granted, so all the motions to compel are moot. They're just done and they're off calendar. Then we got to the deposition subpoena for TriStar. So the motion for TriStar was a deposition subpoena or a protective order. Like, hey, either quash the deposition subpoena just like they did with Kroll, or give a protective order. The court's tentative ruling was so long. Like, it was so long. Like, so long. So the court went through all of the evidentiary objections and overruled most of them, sustained all of the objections to the New York Times article being hearsay that's not authenticated. And it's so funny because I just wanted somebody to turn around and be like, hey, Liz Day, is this your article? Did you write it? Did you talk to these people? Like, Your Honor, we can authenticate it. She's literally sitting here in court looking gorgeous. Like, she's right here. I just wanted it to happen. It didn't. It's not going to. Just, that's how TV court works in my head. A moment that will never happen in court. So the court made a bunch of evidentiary rulings and then got into the motion to quash the subpoena. The court gave their tentative ruling. This part of the hearing is not done. It got put over to August 24th. Not done. Which was funny because after the hearing, Rosengart's like, the court has ordered that. I'm like, it's a tentative ruling. And this judge does not hesitate to overturn their own tentatives. I saw it twice today. So it's a tentative, but it's not the ruling. But it's a tentative. And the tentative is that they will be deposed, but that it will be limited. The tentative said, basically, both sides are wrong. Look, TriStar, you don't get to get out of discovery. But look, Spears, you're asking for way too much. So there's a middle ground here, and y'all are going to come to the middle. And that's really what the court's ruling was. That this is too broad and that is too narrow, Goldilocks. It needs to just be down the middle. So that the discovery with regard to TriStar, and I imagine TriStar is going to feel like this is a win too. The discovery with regard to TriStar is going to be limited to the 12th accounting and the fee petitions. Like, there's nothing else to get into. You're not going back into the first 11 accountings 1 through 11. You can't ask about any of that. Anything that you're asking TriStar about has to be regarding the 12th accounting, the objections, or the fee petitions. That's it. So much more of a limited scope. And then, let's see. They talked a little bit about the surveillance. I think they're trying to make sure TriStar doesn't get asked about the surveillance when the TriStar attorney got up and started arguing. I don't think they're going to win that because if it was being paid for out of the 12th accounting, it might come up. Weingarten was indicating after court that it wasn't paid for out of the 12th accounting, but it was just paid for all the time. And I'm like, if her security didn't end. So his statements after court about that were confusing because TriStar got up and said, look, we're hearing that this surveillance went all the way through like up until 2021. And that's not what we're going to be asking about. And then Weingarten was just like, after court was saying, well, they can't ask about that. It's not part of the 12th accounting. Where is it being paid for then? Where's security being paid for? The argument from Britney's attorney is you were paying to surveil her, and you were not just paying to surveil her, but you were paying to spy on her. This wasn't just protection. So, TriStar got up. Let's see. Must relate to the pending petitions. Let's see. And then TriStar's, so motion granted in part and denied in part. And then TriStar can file separate motions regarding other parts of discovery. So Scott Edelman of TriStar got up and said, look, TriStar is a leading Hollywood business management firm, name drops the Kardashians and a few other people. Because yes, TriStar still reps the Kardashian family, all. They have never been in litigation. They have faithfully served Britney Spears for all of the accountings that were approved by the court. Everyone relies on this. All of them. All of them rely on this. Look, Your Honor, you approved accounting 1 through 11 with no problem. Britney's attorney never objected. It doesn't mean it's okay. One of the bailiffs and I were talking before court. I will not dime out who I was chatting with. One of the bailiffs and I were talking before court, and he was like, this is where he works. He's seen this. And he's like, sometimes it feels like they are just all still fighting to get paid. I was like, I feel like Rosengart has to at this point because he's trying to rein in what happened for 11 years. But Sam Ingham was just like, Sam Ingham was getting over $500,000 a year and didn't object to anything. It was just like, so, let's see. TriStar's never been in litigation. The first 11 accountings were approved by the court. Everybody was, nobody had a problem with it. Everybody was cool with it. Now all of a sudden it's a big problem. It was kind of the vibe. The objections to the 12th accounting are on 3 topics. The 2019 compensation structure, and that's when Britney shifted from doing the Vegas residency, and then they wanted to get paid more, and James Spears literally sent an email and was like, yeah, fine, whatever, and just paid them whatever they asked for. Then the payment of the cease and desist, and they said it was for the CEO of TriStar, but the cease and desist was needed because of their work with the conservatorship. That's why they were having those issues with the Free Britney movement. They actually said Free Britney in court. And then the last one was the let's see. What was the third one? I don't know if I got it. I might have missed it. 3 topics. Payment of legal fees. Oh, that was the other one. Payment of legal fees for the cease and desist, the 2019 compensation structure, and there was another one, but I don't know what it was. But what they said was at the end, Robin Greenhill has said that they were not involved in the surveillance, that the surveillance has nothing to do with them, that I think I missed the third thing that he said, or he said I'm going to do 3 and then he didn't, but we have them in other content that I've covered. It's just my brain is so tired. He said that if the info that Britney Spears is seeking should be sought from Mr. Spears, go talk to Yeated. If you want all this information, go talk to Yeated. Ask him where all of this information was. They should be looking at TriStar or looking at Yeated and not at TriStar. And they kept saying the New York Times article is not evidence. Like, the New York Times is not evidence in this case. There's no evidence before the court about the surveillance. No evidence about the surveillance. Robin Greenhill says they weren't involved in surveillance. Accounting 1 through 11 are off limits. They should stay off limits. And then the court interrupted and was like, we literally have 3 minutes. We have to be done. So then the court spent a lot of time figuring out a date that all the attorneys could come back, and it got set over for October or August 24th to finish up that motion. But the court's tentative is that TriStar is going to have to turn things over, but the scope of what they're going to have to turn over is limited. So with that, we are done. It took me an hour and 45 minutes to get through it, but I'm not surprised. That was the entire hearing today. It was a 3-hour hearing. I tried to condense it as much as I could. We're going to get to questions. I have questions. You have questions. We have questions. I'm going to do as many as I can. And we're going to go through them kind of quickly because then I absolutely have to eat. I'm hungry. I'm tired. But we're going to get to questions. I need to look at something real fast because my phone is just like... Have you guys seen on Instagram everybody getting their Lawnerd boxes? There is going to be a way for some of y'all to get them, but it's been really fun seeing them all arrive for everybody who's been so supportive. Y'all have absolutely been so supportive. But to the other kind of creators that I've connected with who have been super supportive, it's been really fun to see them. I saw Amy Van Dyken in the chat earlier. She was like, oh my God. I was like, girl, yes. Yes. I should say, I have questions. You have questions. We have questions. I said, swoop. My brain is rambling off. Look, the ADHD is aggravated by certain things. For me, my inattentive type is aggravated by things. Lack of sleep is at the top. And after flying to LA yesterday and then turning around and being up at 5 a.m. for a very long day, lack of sleep and tired has absolutely made it a little bit worse. And you guys have been so patient with me. Thank you. I have questions. You have questions. We have questions. We're going to get to super chats. We're going to get to questions. I cannot guarantee that we get to all of them. I'm going to try. Yes, Jen Gerard got hers and opened it. I love it. There is a level of membership over on the Patreon that entitles you to limited edition merch. So they will be available there first. And then if there are any left, they will go on public on sale. If there are not any left, we will look at the most popular items from the box and see if we can add something similar for everybody. I think the coins and the cups have been the most important. So, oh, Jen, it's good to see you on the chat. Jen's like, yes, I love my box. That's going to get clipped. Let's get into questions. I can't wait. I needed to look at what time where I want to eat closes. Betty the Cow, I'm a member. Thank you for being a member. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Hag said, welcome to the newbies. Do the YouTube things and don't forget your Kool-Aid on the way out. Law Nerds for life. Do the YouTube things. There's over 13,000 of you on here live. Thank you so much for riding with me for a random live. I missed Tuesday's live. Other stuff's popping off. There's a very odd other Girardi lawsuit. Erica's appealing the decision with regard to the earrings. I'm going to catch up on that stuff tomorrow. Today has been a whole day. It's been great, but it's been a whole day. RMQM said my birthday was on Sunday, and one of my brother's gifts was a coloring book of the Depp v. Heard trial. It is amazing and just as crazy as you think. That's wild. I'm going to have to look. I didn't know there was a trial coloring book. Wow. Danny said, loved watching your commentary on this morning's E-Daily Pop. Cheers. I was so nervous. Everyone was so lovely. I have done stuff for TV. I did ABC's The Year. I've done other commentary. Most of it's been remote. ABC's The Year was in a remote studio that was local to Nashville, but it was for TV, but it was not a working like TV studio. It was a remote crew with cameras set up in a studio. That's what I'm more used to. It feels very much like getting together and collabing with other YouTubers. It's like, we got a few cameras, we got a sound guy, we got some lights, we're in a room, it's great. This was at Universal, and they have, obviously it's a TV show, but they have their whole, like, it looks like the morning show. It's just, that's what it was. And I've never in my life, they've got the whole like control room with all the monitors and the screens and the staff and the long hallways and the green rooms. And it was fascinating. It was just, I've never been on set like that. It was interesting. It was great. Everybody was so kind. It's very early. I don't know how they all do it all the time. Like that's early. It's early. And especially getting hair, makeup, all the things. It's a lot of a day, but it was really, really fun. I was very, very nervous. It's just such a different setting. It's not my normal setting. I'm like, how do we look on TV? Like, am I gonna like, what are we going to do? So nervous. Welcome back to LA. Thank you. Who is Kate? I got to have lunch with my parents yesterday after I landed. It was very nice. Can we nominate Yeated Spears for the first mission to Mars? He's going to stay here and litigate this shit. Loopy said, I feel like James Spears has a similar personality to Amber Heard. Yes, mountains of evidence that will vindicate them. It's interesting to watch them back to back. Question, are there any regulations regarding using court to harass, or does it come under anti-slap? Anti-slap's different than anything going on here in the conservatorship. This is all... This is a hard question to answer. The attorneys are arguing back and forth that this is just tolling up litigation and that this is not proper. But this all has context. We're not at like a vexatious litigant, but Rosengart is saying they're trying to harass Britney Spears through the court. They're saying we have the right to discovery and we have the right to prove our case because you're making all these objections. Look, here's the rub of all of this. If the objections get granted, so if the objections to the 12th accounting, if the court goes, yeah, Britney Spears' estate's not paying for that, guess who has to pay for it? Yeated. Yeated is like, I don't have like $2 million plus to pay all these attorneys, because of course he doesn't. Because, I mean, that's my assumption. And Rosengart said it after court. Today I've got a longer clip. I shared a shorter clip, but I've got a longer clip of him where he's like, where is James Spears getting the money to fight this stuff? Like, he wants to take a writ regarding the motion to quash the Kroll subpoena, which he said he was going to do. He's going to take a writ to quash the Kroll subpoena, a writ on appeal. And, excuse me, he's going to take a writ on it. And I asked Rosengart about it during the press corps afterward. He's going to ask, I was like, what do you think? And he's like, good luck to you. Where's the money? And he's like, any investigative reporters around here? I'm sure there's some. Where is he getting the money to pay for this? So there is some back and forth about it. But I understand, like, legally speaking, not morally, legally speaking, I understand Yeated's desire to continue this litigation to try to win these objections. Because if these objections get granted, he is going to have a very big bill. And he's going to have to figure that out. And so are the attorneys. The attorneys are invested in fighting it. So let's continue. Life with Gigi. Are your earrings yellow gold? I think they started out as rose gold. I found a really cool pair and I want to send you some. Yellow or white. These are rose. I'm not sensitive, but these tend to be almost all that I wear, but thank you. So generally I wear like silver and white gold, but these are rose gold. There's kind of all. So thank you. You don't have to. Joshua C. Walsh, nice to see you. Missed you. Nice to see you too. Amy Van Dyken, you became a member. Thank you. Happy to see you. No, Yeated, you're just entitled. He thinks he is. Wild, right? Hey, the adults are talking. Said, I stumbled upon you during the Depp Heard trial. I now love you. Well, thank you. Thank you for everything. Mostly hope for me and others. Well, hope is what we're here for. Hope is what we're here for. Call me Al. This is spicier than my hot wings and buffalo fries. That sounds delicious. Don't get me started about food. Today got very, very feisty, which makes me want to just come back in August. I'm trying to not travel in August, but I'm like, today was fiery. Doesn't he mean doing it for the leeches? It sounded like that. Mr. Spears, where is the money? That's a big question. Yeated is giving Mommy Dearest sequel vibes. Daddy Dearest. Allie, the trademark, living. Protect her, please, Rosengart. Rosengart's like, I'm not backing down from a fight. Rosengart was having a really good time. Courtney Robb said the real Amy Van Dyken. Yes, it is the one, the only, the Olympian herself, Amy Van Dyken in the chat. She's amazing. She's a law nerd. She's great. We stand. But yeah, Yeeted is just. I saw a question about what is a writ. So basically an appeal, but the timing is a little bit different. So you take a writ and are like, can you please overdo this? We're in the middle of things. Like we're in the middle of stuffs. That's a very informal definition, but it's asking the appellate court to decide. Danny said, funds for a portable, if possible, DEFCON red light when traveling. Should we just give it a bumper? Because we could give it a bumper. All of this, well, the arguments that were being made by Yeeted were fuckery. They felt like fuckery. They argued well. But the arguments, I'm just like, oh, come on with this. But he did argue his points well, again. So at least what I appreciate is I can follow the train of thought. Each train of thought leaves and you kind of can see the path, which is way better than what we've got with Elaine. Elaine is like a balloon that you're letting air out of. You're just like, what the fuck's happening? Question, how can they unseal anything if it doesn't have to deal with the case since the judge said to reel it in? Oh, I think it's a threat. I don't think anything's actually getting unsealed. I think everything is inappropriate. Christine Jones, thank you. It was fun being on Daily Pop today. Everyone's just so nice. Appreciate your Britney coverage. Thank you, Tala. I hope I pronounced that right. Doesn't HIPAA protection apply? Emily, Neary, no. The court orders apply. HIPAA doesn't apply. These are documents in court. HIPAA does not apply to them. That applies to what doctors can release. So no, HIPAA does not apply. It does not. So the protective orders apply. And those protective orders and privacy orders are ordained under different things. Jasmine, thank you. I just wanted to shout out to everybody who's like, I saw you on TV because I was on TV. Smilin' Wolfette said, usually a lesser known artist, sometimes not, but also tour bus companies buy them back and rent them out. Thank you. So sometimes a up and coming, it sounds like we'll go with up and coming artist. We'll purchase a tour bus or the bus companies buy them back and rent them out. See, there are things to do with them, not turn them into a food truck. Spiegel was an expert, believe it or not. Ray, yes. I said what I said. You should write on the back of the pages upside down, write on the fonts. Then when you flip the page in the notepad vertical, that's not a bad idea. It's been a long time since I've done flippy notebooks. I normally don't do two sides because then I get confused. But yeah, I could do it that way. It probably would make more sense. I forgot to bring notebooks. I forgot to bring notebooks. So it was a scramble. Jennifer said, if they can prove that the conservatorship was illegal, can Britney sue for IIED over the forced imprisonment and ability to have a child? I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're going to get a ruling that the conservatorship was illegal. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So where we go on the IIED, I don't know. Will Britney sue beyond this? I don't know. It's just, there's too many factors of like, well, it depends this, and it's hard to speculate on. So I don't think we're ever going to see a ruling that the conservatorship was illegal. A lot of conversation, but not. Haley, did anyone recognize you? Oh yeah. Yeah. I got to talk to a lot of law nerds. It was lovely. It was great. But also the thing is, I shared where I'm going to be because I didn't mind. I enjoy talking to y'all in public. I shared where I was going to be. I have purple hair. I also saw recognition from a few of the journalists, and at the break, I spoke to Rosengart just very briefly, and it was kind of like, oh. So I don't know. He either recognized me or was fascinated by the purple hair. One of the two. I didn't ask because I don't want to know. In my brain, I'm just going to let it be. Did they have proof of a management contract with TriStar Peggy Cole? No. There is still no management contract that's been produced with TriStar. Isn't that all interesting? Still not. Still not. Here's towards nom noms and ramblings and good sleep. Thank you, Colby. This hotel room's been lovely, but this bed is surprisingly hard. You know what's funny? So the hotel I stayed at in New York, when I was just in New York real quick, I was just surprised at the, and I talked about this on one of the members only lives, the last one. I was just surprised by the capsule hotel, but the bed was fucking glorious. Way more comfortable than this bed. So for all of me being like, I need space. I need to putter. I need to see things. Again, ADHD. Like, I need to visually see where stuff's at or I will forget it, whatever. And when I'm traveling, that's really hard. So a capsule hotel was like, a little challenging, but the bed was fucking great. I slept so well. I did not sleep that well last night. Question, how did the packing go with the closet organization? Better. I forgot a few things. I have to now figure out where things are in the new spot, so it took me a little bit longer, but I was less anxious about it. Thank you for asking. These are my monkeys. Less anxious about traveling this time. Was BJ there? Yes. We need a photo of you two. I do too. Because I don't know where she went after court. She was there and then she was gone. I have no idea what direction she went in, and we can't take pictures in the hallway because all I wanted to do was get a picture with BJ. I'm so bummed we didn't. I'm sure we'll be in the same space again and we'll make it happen. So I was a little bit bummed. Hugs, so glad you went to the hearing. Me too. There's so much more I can glean from being there, because the things that are important to me from what I do and the things that might be important from a news story are going to be different. And that's in no way a diss to the reporting that's come out of hearings. I think the reporting that's been coming out of these hearings has been fantastic. I really do. I've leaned on the Variety articles and the stuff from Liz Day so much. It's been super helpful. But in my mind, the things that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting detail. Some of those things I think are just informed by the fact that I look at the story from a lawyer perspective and they look at the story from a journalist or investigative journalist perspective. And so I really like having both perspectives, and I love seeing that with BJ. I love getting her perspective too. I love it. But I also wanted to see for myself, and I wanted to hear the tone. I wanted to hear the way things were said. So that, let's see. Love a great hotel bed. I've had the sleep in quality hotel beds and sheets. Yeah, I love a good one too. I hate hard beds. It's nice when you find a glorious bed. It's so nice. Make travel lists with everything that I need, bro. I've started to do that. So let's see. I got a text and dropped everything to come running. Thank you, Jessica. TriStar managed Britney. Did CS Tears. So TriStar was Britney's business manager. So they were the ones running the work, the money, all of that. So they were the business manager. Who's BJ? Oh, that surprise witness. Sorry. That surprise witness is another creator here on YouTube and on Twitter. And she is an attorney who breaks this stuff down. So that surprise witness does great stuff. She does stuff with Jake Yonsei. It was just really, really nice to see her in court. BJ said she was going to we chatted and then we saw each other in person and then chatted. So that. You have to go next time so she can get. We connected. We just didn't get to take pictures. Pixar didn't happen. It did happen. Question, why do you not actively practice law anymore? Sorry, I'm still kind of new here. Caitlin, no, don't be sorry at all. I talk about a little bit my connection with law and leaving law into the consulting world in my TED Talk. And I like doing this better. Truly, I have followed my fun. So this is way more fun for me. I like it better. I have a lot more freedom. I get offered work truly all the time. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't. So, yeah, I just don't. So I got to choose. And I choose to do this. I love creating content. I love talking to you guys. I really don't want to be in court arguing the way these attorneys are. I really like to watch it, break it down, go through the documents, be nosy, get on here and be like, y'all, WTF, this is a vibe. I just don't want to do it anymore. So, some of it was exhaustion, some of it was burnout, some of it was health issues, but a lot of it was freedom. And I loved being a DA until I didn't. So, I needed to make a different choice for me, and I love this. So, this is what I like to do. Your laundered boxes are a hit. Reminds me of when celebs get their Skims or Fenty boxes. RK, that's so sweet. It really was me wanting to share the excitement, and we created. I wish I had one to show you. I'll show you guys one on Friday night. I wish I had one to show you, but the team and I created them as a fun way to celebrate like 100K and 200K. And right as the boxes got finished printing, the Depp Heard trial started. So then I didn't get to sending them out because the Depp Heard trial started, and I am only capable of doing one thing at a time. And there were moving pieces that needed me to finish things, and I was out of pocket. So then by the time we were like, oh, we have to send these out, I'm like, but the box says 200. So there's an insert in there with a little note, but it just was a thing. Aurora W, totally superficial, but you look amazing. I will always take compliments. I was nervous. You looked amazing on E this morning. You were the doppelganger for my BFF. Thank you. August Travel Fund. We'll see. I got to talk to Dr. B first. DEFCON Red Fund. Oh, yeah. Okay. DEFCON Red. We should just roll the bumper. We'll just give it. Just so you know that the argument was fuckery, we just need to memorialize it ourselves. Like, so if you are flash sensitive, this is flashy, but only until the music stops. So we're going to honor the fuckery of it all. We're going to honor the daddy loves her fuckery of it all. So if you are flash sensitive, 3, 2, 1. Still not red. I wish, you know what I need? I need like a little, I need something that is like red tinted that I can just put over the lens and just make everything a little bit red. I'll find something. If only I had the foresight to buy the Girardi red lingerie, we could just put it over my eyesight camera and figure it out. How can I get my hands on a purple laundered water cup? The sparkly ones that you are seeing are only in the box, but yeah, they're only in the box for now. So if we do another run, they will be different. Sexy Green Eyes, hello. Question, apologies if this has been asked before, but since the conservatorship was established illegally, why doesn't the judge yeet Team Con? Love you. It has never been legally determined that the conservatorship was established illegally. There are definitely questions about the conservatorship, but that has not been legally established, that it was created illegally. Does that help? I hope that helps. So for the August travel fund, y'all, I got to talk to Dr. B. If Wino Weingarten had such a big issue with the court's ruling, is there anything that side can do to address those issues, i.e. yeet the judge, even if wrong? No. This judge is this judge. This judge definitely seems to have switched perspectives after Britney spoke to the court in June. I don't know if that's public pressure. I don't know if she had a change of heart. I don't know what happened with Judge Penny. I don't know if she just likes Rosengart, and Rosengart's the first one who's made sense to her. But Judge Penny is very much like, we're limiting all of this. Like, we are limiting all of this. So we are limiting all of this. And it's good to see. Like, Rosengart has a very good rapport with the judge. Weingarten seemed very frustrated with the judge. I thought he was still respectful, but he seemed very, very frustrated because he lost most of his motions today. And he's like, I have the impossible task. Yeah, bro, you do. Glad you're realizing it. You know, if your job is to vindicate James Spears' behavior, have fun just shoveling all that shit. Like, good luck. Matt Bond, you do need a tour bus for a residency in a hotel. Okay, fair. But then maybe don't convert it to a food truck. I'm going to have an argument either way. But Matt, I appreciate your insight. You know I always do. Thank you. Coffee Buzz, how many times did you break into a Britney song in your head? Not once today, actually. Because so much stuff happened today so fast that most of the time my brain was like this, except for the moment when I was waiting for a lawyer to turn around and be like, Liz Day is right here. Let's ask her. Let's ask her about the article. Let's just throw her. I was waiting for her to be pulled from the audience. Donna Shepard said, can you give a shout out to my awesome boss, Pam? Hey, Pam. She just paid for my hotel for my vacation, the 12th through 14th. It's my first vacation in over 15 years. I'm going to Fort Bragg for the first time. She is awesome. Donna Shepard, you need more vacations, my friend. I'm so glad you're awesome. Boss Pam was like, please go. Vacation is essential, even if it's a staycation. We all need breaks from work. Don't ever clip this and send it to my husband. He will use my words against me. Because we have not really as a family taken much of a break since the channel started to grow at the end of 2020. Tanner said, just tuning in, replay crew. The mobile camera setup has Emily looking extra radiant. Apple has some kind of fucked up wizardry going on in the software of their eyesight lens. It is all a lie, but I'm also here for it. So if you want to be on a Zoom call and be like, look, we're looking extra zhuzh, the MacBook Pro. I don't know. I need to go back and find an iJustine or a Renee Ritchie video or MKBHD. Somebody has addressed this, I'm sure. I've never streamed from this camera. This camera is not showing you the truth. Like I am not looking this together. I'm looking okay, but I'm not looking this together at all. I am much shinier, and I have this is probably way too much more information, but there are lines in my forehead up here when I move, and they're all just kind of softly blurred. I'll take it, but it's a lie. And I don't think I can fix it. Like in Zoom, you can change the beauty filter. You can't change the beauty filter here. There's a filter on this camera. So I got on and I was like, this camera is filtered. It's like soft focused. All right. KP said, I'm heading to Disney from North Carolina to Florida. Thank you for the company. I needed it. Have a great time at Disney. Don't be too hot. Westy wear dog kilts. I love everything about that. Waiting for the headline, The Days of Wine and Roses. Love lawyer nameplay. Hello from down under. It really is. Because I called Weingarten wine and Rosengart rose in all of my notes. I couldn't write Weingarten and Rosengart. It's just too long. Spam the chat with red caval emoji for DEFCON red. Don't spam the chat with emoji. Nightbot will explode and just start timing people out. Don't. Nightbot has no nuance. It's a bot. So spam. It gets mad. Peggy Quill said, yeah, hear Britney recorded with Elton John, Tiny Dancer. Not sure when it's coming out. Someone heard it, said it was awesome. I'm sure it is. It sounds like Britney singing with her real voice. It sounds like she is feeling free. So I'm really, really happy for Britney. Her attorney is fighting for her passionately. Not to say James Spears' attorney is not fighting for him passionately. It's a little bit different the way that they argue, but Rosengart's invested. It's what you want from an attorney. Your attorney is your zealous advocate. That's what we got in court today. Whether I disliked some of Weingarten's arguments or not, because some of them I was like, bitch, please. But he was a zealous advocate for his client, and I appreciate lawyers doing their job. They are just locked horns. These attorneys are locked horns. Nothing is going to go easily. And the only thing that's frustrating about that, because I love watching lawyers just be like, but this is this and this is this, and you said that, and now we know this. Love it. It's costing Britney money. It's got to be costing her stress. And she deserves to actually be fucking done with this. And that's the part that's frustrating for me. Because we're at least a year, 2 out from this being done. If not 3. So we've got years left. Unless James Spears stops. James Spears, the power is still in his hands in that he could stop fighting it. He could say whatever the court decides and be done. And we know he's not going to do that. Abigail Chang, hello. Question. Did you get the sense that TriStar and Yeeted are cooperating? Kind of. Or are they going to be fighting amongst themselves? I got the sense that they're all kind of on the same side with, hey, we don't want this information out. It kind of benefits everybody if they're all objecting to the subpoenas, but that's also not inappropriate. They're not going to be working together, but they're going to be cooperative because they're on the same side of the thing because they were part of the conservatorship together. So, yeah, they're going to be collaborating or cooperative. So, yeah. Let's see. Question. Can the court just, Sam, I don't know why this wouldn't pull up. Can the court just set a date for the 13th accounting since they oversee the conservatorship? Wouldn't that be nice? It might come to that where the court's like, this is the deadline for it, but we're not there yet. So, Susan, Emily, you're beautiful. Stop being critical of yourself. I truly, Susan, I appreciate you. I was not trying to be critical. I was just trying to say it's not the truth. Like, I don't use filters on Instagram. I don't use filters on my stuff because I'm like, I am a woman of a certain age. My face has lines, it moves and it does things. So I'm fine with that. I just want you to know when it's not true. Like, this filter is not true. I'm going to go find YouTube videos after this and be like, tell me the situation with the filter on the eyesight camera because is it in settings? What are we doing? So I just want everyone to be clear that it's not true. Skacey, thank you for being you. Vids feel like chats with a friend. That's how they feel for me too. I love it. Nightbot's out here doing the most. Everybody can tell Nightbot you really think you did something there. Sorry, I've been watching Peter Mom videos about James Charles recently. I'm like, what is going on? So the new MacBook Pro, it's a newer one. It's one of the newer ones. I didn't get it that long ago. I'm sure you can go back on my Insta story and see the last 3 times I redid my desk when I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting a new computer, I'm getting a new this, I'm getting a new that. It's happened like 3 times. Question, did I miss you going? This is a great question, Lisa Commander Thomas, and I love that little Starbucks icon on your handle. It's so cute. Did I miss you going over the new suit against Erica Jane, Tom, Bank of America, Rick, and Mauricio? If yes, I'll rewatch it later. You bring me joy, lady. Thank you so much. You bring me joy too. I love being here with you all. No. I have a lot of questions. This new lawsuit, it's been rumbling around for a while. This is not the first time it's come to my attention. I can't put my finger on what's off about it. There's something off about this lawsuit. I'm just not there yet. I'm going to look at it. What I'm hoping to do is identify what is sitting weird with me because something's sitting... I need to identify what's sitting weird. So if I cover it, I can tell you, look, these are allegations and these are all the questions I have. And right now it's just a gut and I can't explain that more. I just need a little bit more time and brain space to go over it. So yes, I'm aware of it. No, I haven't covered it. I did cover the $50 million one she just got served with at LAX. And that's on the channel. But no, this new one with the B of A stuff, you know, I have no bump the mic. Sorry. You know, I've got no love lost for Erica Jane, but at some point, I don't know when it's just piling on for attention to lawsuits. And I just, something's with that lawsuit. Jade lady, Jadeite lady, can you tell us the questions you spoke to the attorneys about and their responses? I will be sharing the videos on Instagram too, and I'll probably share them on the Shorts channel tomorrow. I hope to do a little short and clip those all together and put them all up on the Shorts channel. I asked Weingarten if he's appealing the thing about Kroll, and he was like, yes, it's technically a writ. And I'm like, well, yes. And then, you know, we had a moment of, he was like, well, yes. And I'm like, yes. And then Rosengart walked by and everyone that was talking to Weingarten started following him. Let me see if I can bring it up. And then I asked Rosengart, I'm not sure if I can, but I'll try. And then I asked Rosengart, you know, Weingarten says he's appealing. What do you think? And he's like, good luck with that, which was the second time today he said good luck with that. Because in court, he was like, you know, they want to vindicate James Spears. Good luck with that. It's like, you do you. Let me see if I can pull those videos up real quick. Oh, I can just show you my Twitter. Check out the big brain on Emily, so you all don't have to go look at it. Let me just pull up the Twitter and I'll share those with you. Are my DMs open? No. And the first thing I check, literally the first thing I check before I pull Twitter up and share with y'all is to make sure that I've not done something wild. Not that there's anything bad in there. It's just I take privacy seriously. Y'all don't need to know. And people who DM me don't need to think that like I'm just gonna be all out here doing the most. All right. Can I share screen? Share screen. Let's see. No. Okay, I've got to. Sorry, I've not ever streamed from my laptop like this, so we're gonna have to fuss with it for a second. But I appreciate the question. We're gonna make this happen. So thank you for giving me a second to do it. That's not helpful. That's not what I wanted to do. It's so funny sometimes, StreamYard, and how it lets you share things. But yay! Okay, hopefully you'll be able to hear. Y'all, I got yeeted by the Wi-Fi, and now I'm trying to get back on, and I can't. There we are. Thank you, Miguelina. I don't know what happened. Sorry. This is I've been streaming for 2.5 hours on hotel Wi-Fi. Objection unintelligible. We've had so much luck. Okay, we're gonna try to show these, and then I'm gonna go, and then it's gonna be time to go. I think that was like they're like and scene. It's done. It's like it's time. I was freaking out. Jennifer H is like, I was freaking out. I was like, ah! It was me. Sorry, y'all. Thank you, Miguelina. Thank you, chat. I was just so bummed. All right, let's try this one more time. All right. If it eats me again, I apologize. Nothing I can do. We will just see. Let's see. All right. I'm going to try to see if I click on these, I hope that it'll make the post bigger. There's no audio yet, so do not worry. I'm trying to just make this bigger so you can see it. And then I will back that thing up and put audio on it. All right. This is James Spears' attorney, Weingarten. I saw a couple, I just want to say, I saw a couple comments on the Twitters that were mocking his weight. We're law-nerds. We don't body shame people. We just don't. I want to hear what he has to say as an attorney. I know I can't control the Twitter spheres, but we're law nerds and we don't. So, all right, let me play this.
Are you going to appeal the issue that you said you noted for the Court of Appeal about Kroll not being designated as an expert?
Okay. It's a writ, not appeal, but it's
well, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry. Technically.
Lawyers. And then Rosengart walks by. And if you couldn't hear him, he says, I'm sorry, I was distracted by all of that. And he just gestures to Rosengart. And literally everyone just walks right in front of him and follows Rosengart. I stayed for a minute. I've got the rest of what he said. But Rosengart walks by and everyone just followed him off. And then Rosengart was trying to get back up to where the media had like press conference, whatever they call the little stand they stick all the microphones in. They had a place for him to actually do a press conference, but everyone aggressively followed him and he kept stopping, putting his box down, answering questions. And then he would pick it up and be like, I have to get up there. And then people were like, TMZ was following him like this, just trying to get his answers. So I'm sure TMZ has quite a lot of content on it because he was answering. It's really hard to walk kind of through that. All right. So I have a much longer video of this that I will be putting up on the Quick Bits channel and sharing, but this is the pared down version of this. So look, I was just like yelling questions. Who do we think we are? I mean, who do we think we are? I was curious. I just wanted to know the things. So I asked. And that's apparently how it works. You just say things and they answer. It's great. Whatever. All right.
Martin said he's going to take a writ on the issue of whether or not Kroll's a testifying expert. What do you think of that?
Best of luck with that. And I hope Jamie Spears has not squandered the at least $6.3 million that he obtained from the estate in connection with monies earned by Britney. We have not said that that's illegal. I'm making a statement of fact, which is according to documents we've obtained, information we've obtained, as public court records now show, Jamie Spears obtained at least $6.3 million from the estate, from Britney Spears' work. Although, as we know, Jamie Spears was essentially not employable. He wasn't a talent manager, he wasn't a talent agent, he's not a lawyer, yet he deemed fit to take commissions from Britney Spears.
Wasn't there a food truck?
He has any of that
I
money
couldn't
left.
help myself. I'm sorry.
Circling back to your question,
Yeah.
somebody's going to have to pay for his appeal.
Somebody's going to have to pay for this appeal. I literally couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I could not help myself. I could not help myself. I wanted to know, but wasn't there a food truck? Because I'm still giving commentary over the actual live answers, which is why I need to be behind my computer where I could just make the quips to myself and to y'all. Because I couldn't, it just came out. But he's right. James Spears was unemployable. So he started saying, he never answered about the food truck, but he started saying, I'd sure like to know how he's paying for the appeal. And then in the rest of the video, he does say, there are investigative reporters here. Like, could somebody please find out how he's paying for all of this? I love it. So I was really happy to be there today. It was definitely a long day. I just cannot. Emily needs her safe space with her paw nerds. Yes, behind my computer where I can just shout things. Don't allow me out in public. It was very hard. It was nice to be back in court, for sure. It was nice to be back in the courthouse where I worked. It was a moment. But there were times when they were talking and I'm trying to take notes and my brain is still running commentary. And I was just like, I'm like, brain, stop. I'm like, I'm trying to remember what they said. And in my brain, I'm like, are you going there? Are you going there? Is what you really want to say is that James Spears is proud of everything he's done for his daughter? Is that the direction we're going in right now? I wanted to pause Weingarten so I could be angry about it and then move out. So Ray's like, now do it live and in person. Yeah. I like YouTube. So it was nice. You guys are like asking the real questions. Yeeted was in bankruptcy before forcing baby Britney to work. Yep. And I appreciate that both attorneys took the moment to answer the question because I actually wanted to know this for me legally, it's a very interesting argument. They filed a declaration, but they haven't been designated as an expert. So I can see Weingarten's argument. It's like, but they literally gave testimony. So doesn't that literally make it true that they have testified as an expert? And Rosengart's like, they're not designated as an expert. I find the question legally very interesting. I would like to know. The court answered it and was like, no. But I'm still curious. I really wonder, I wonder what the case law says on it. So I really do. And if they file a writ, I'm going to be very curious to see what the writ does and to see what the Court of Appeal says. I'm actually quite curious. Oh my God, now it's 9:20. It's so late. Darn it. Y'all, I've got to go so I can get some food because it's getting late. And if I don't go get some food, there's not going to be food. And then there's not going to be food. So I have to go do that. I appreciate all of you. It's so good to see you. I will talk to you very soon. I will be live on Friday Night Live. I am flying home tomorrow. Lord help us all. I'm going to be I'll be working some in the morning and then I'll be flying home. So I hope all of you are well. It was so good to see you. Thank you for, a mobile on the road ride. It actually, being able to work and share what's going on with you quickly is really, really nice. Because it gives me a little confidence and freedom to be like, oh, we can say yes to doing some of these things and making these choices and just doing it all together. Because the one thing I don't want to do is miss being with y'all. Because this is what I love doing. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Do the YouTube-y things. YouTube's been kind of weird lately. Don't forget to do the YouTube things. Subscribing would be great. We're trying to get to 666. Tammy Johnson, did you see the text message Britney released to her mom, lawyer, sister while locked up for help in 2019? They ignored her and lied. I have not seen it. I have seen mention of it. And the attorney Weingarten brought it up today that she's been talking about it on social. For the cold brew, that's definitely happening tomorrow. Thank you, AB. I appreciate that. Brandy said, did Amber Heard withdraw her appeal? I haven't seen anything filed. She filed her appeal bond. She filed, I don't know what they're doing with the suspension bond. I would need to go look. But they still have 3 months to file the appeal briefs. So they filed their notice of appeal, but I haven't. Look, if news happened today, I haven't seen it, but I would be very surprised if that happened. What, if any, LA food is a must-have when you're there? I was only there once, 19, to visit my brother. Enjoyed Mel's Diner. Yummy stuff to go. Gosh. My brain has stopped. I always like going to Kura, but it is a chain there in multiple states, but that's one of my go-tos when I'm in the area. Love Kura. Maybe they're on DoorDash. Maybe we'll do that. I don't know what time they close. But sushi is one of the things I get when I'm in California. I don't always get In-N-Out when I'm in California, but sometimes I will. There are some local restaurants that I really enjoyed local to the South Bay, but I'm not a fancy foodie. So I'm pretty easy. I'm like, can we just get some steak? So more steak salad. Let's just do that. And that's what I'm going to go rustle up for myself now. So good night. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Lawnerd. I appreciate all of you. Have you seen all my Octonation stickers? Aren't they fun? They're so fun. I feel like a child with this is my hiking water bottle, but literally it's the only one I can find and it brings me joy. So whatever, we're just living. I have to go. I am so tired. I appreciate you guys. It's so much fun getting to chat with you about the nerdy shit that I love. I can't tell you enough how much it means to me that I get to do this with y'all. It really is truly a joy and a pleasure. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, LawNerdsUnite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.